Emotional vulnerability is letting people see you real, as you really are.
This is the art part of it.
This is the art part of it. And so something that's significant, something that's meaningful, but doesn't make anybody feel creepy or awkward.
And what I'm realizing here is that these moments actually are extraordinarily powerful relational marketing. They're just internal.
Yes.
They're internal relational marketing.
Exactly.
Every time we get a chance to do something the right way, it's a form of advertising.
Advertising is a tax you pay for not being remarkable. Welcome to Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads, a podcast for business owners who want to become remarkable. 2 lattes, Todd Liles is going to take you deep into the mind of Roy H. Williams, the Wizard of Ads, to unleash the timeless truths and secret strategies that have helped him build dozens of America's most successful businesses. Do you want to build a brand that wins the heart, captures the mind, and creates lasting relationships? Take a deep breath and buckle up. It's time to fly.
All right, welcome to yet another episode. And today we're going to talk about winning the heart. But the angle that we're going to take today is the power of emotionally vulnerable ads. Roy, we know that vulnerability is so powerful. When we can show someone our relative weaknesses or our soft spots, that it allows people to connect with us. It allows customers to connect with us. And it becomes more just about transactions, because if you're being vulnerable, you can't be the tough guy. This helps us win loyalty. So I want to jump into why being emotionally vulnerable works so amazingly well. So if you mind, I'm going to jump straight into it. I'm going to talk about why, first of all, does it capture attention? And then number 2, about crafting emotionally powerful ads. So let's go to attention first. And here's my question. Why do audiences respond to brands that just show their struggles, their flaws? They're just real honest about who they are.
Okay, so the question that you're answering with vulnerability, can I trust these people? Can I believe what they say? Okay. Now, let's talk about vulnerability for a second. You talked about emotional vulnerability. There's actually 3 different types of vulnerability, all of which work wonderfully. Emotional vulnerability is one of them. Relational vulnerability is another one. In other words, the relationship you have with different people, the relationship you have with the world around you is all about status. It's all about what you think of me, the relationship we have together. Who do you think I am? When you make yourself relationally vulnerable, so that it's possible a person might feel you might drop in their estimation. And if you know you're risking that, and you risk it, what kind of a person would risk that? A person who trusts you and a person who tells the truth. And so you never, ever, ever want to claim to be honest. If you want to be perceived as an honest person, just say something that only an honest person would say. Now remember, there's emotional vulnerability. Okay, it's costing me to tell you this. You know what I mean? I am embarrassing myself. It's hard for me to talk about this. Emotional vulnerability is letting people see you real, as you really are. That means you can be trusted. That means you can, in fact, be trusted to tell the truth, because you're telling a very difficult truth to tell.
Yes.
See what I mean?
Absolutely.
Now, I don't want people to think this is about, see, if you get creepy with it, if you overshare.
Don't share too much.
If you go too far, it's like now you're just being creepy and weird and nobody likes you. So it's like you're just being weird. And
this is the art part of it.
This is the art part of it. And so something that's significant, something that's meaningful, but doesn't make anybody feel creepy or awkward. Number 2 was the relational vulnerability. You're willing to give up potential status or your potential perception of ability or power or success or whatever. Number 3, financial vulnerability.
Okay.
Now, you made yourself financially vulnerable and you won the confidence. They rewarded you with their confidence. When you told all those people in the last session, you tell all these technicians, look, to increase your close rate, you need to buy from your company at full price for yourself. You can do it. You know how to do it. Why wouldn't you just do it for yourself? Because you're trying to convince other people to pay this price. You have to pay it first. And so if you have a monthly maintenance club at your company, you need to pay full price every month to be part of that club so that whenever one of the other guys comes over to do the work at your house, you just get to prop your feet up and enjoy it. And you don't have to do the work that you do all day when you get home because you're paying the company the same price everybody else pays them. Okay. You made yourself financially vulnerable when you told the people that you were training, Todd, in the last broadcast we did. You said, look, if you do what I'm telling you and your sales don't increase and you don't start making way more money and have a much higher close rate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'm going to pay you back all of the money. You just call me up. I will write you a check for the money that I cost you.
Right.
And I know that you would do it. You always have done those things and lived up to your word. Not one person ever called you because it always works. But you made yourself financially vulnerable to communicate to them the depth of your confidence and your belief. And you're basically saying, trust me, I'm going to take a way bigger chance than I'm asking you to take. And so by doing that, by making yourself financially vulnerable, they all believed you and they all took the action they needed to take. And you helped all these people increase their close rate. You helped all these people make way more money and become way more successful. And I'm going, yes, financial vulnerability is how you did that. Emotional, relational, or financial vulnerability. It causes people to say, wow, I feel like I know this person. And that, my friend, is relational marketing.
I like that. Roy, I think all the way back in the early season, episode 3 or so, we showed an ad. It was Avis, where they very much knew they weren't in first place, so they went with "We Try Harder,"
Right.
which to me feels a little bit like being relationally vulnerable. It's like, hey, we know we're not number
Exactly.
one.
That-
Has there ever been a company or an example where you've worked with someone where they went from just absolutely banging their chest to we're perfect to, oh no, actually we've made some mistakes. Here's what we've learned, and this is what we're doing different. And I don't know that there actually is. I'm just curious if you've ever worked with anyone where they've sort of had to step into that vulnerability role and admit some sort of, maybe not even mistake, maybe that's not the right thing, but whether it's emotionally, relationally, or financially, say, yeah, this is who we are, and you've used that appropriately in an ad.
And the biggest example I have of that, masterfully done and very sincerely done, but nobody ever decided to try to commercialize it. I didn't write an ad about it, never even considered writing an ad about it, but it made a gigantic, gigantic, gigantic difference. And this was maybe 4 years ago, 4.5. Ken Goodrich described it as the perfect storm. And this is when he still owned Gettle and I was still writing his ads. And one day he said, I was at the Mayo Clinic. My phone is off. And he says, I'm there for like 4 days. And it was a family thing, and this is like, this had his undivided attention. And during this window of time, he said, due to unavoidable things, so just like a series of like 3 or 4 things in a row that happened, there was an older couple, a lot of money, big house, and they were having some special event. I don't remember what it was, family reunion or something. They needed a new air conditioning system, and they were only going to call Gettle, and they called Gettle, and we believe in you guys, and they said, here's going to be the price, and it was like close to $40,000, and it was multiple units, and it was they said, okay, and you'll have this done by a certain date. We'll absolutely have it done by that date. They didn't, and it was like, I forget the different things that happened, but they weren't things that were controllable, and so Ken comes back into town. And he has a call from these people that want to talk to him. And they felt personally betrayed. They said, hey, we believed in you and we trusted you and you let us down. And Ken said, are you home right now? And they said, yes. And he said, okay, I'm coming over right now. He went to the house and he found out exactly how much they had paid. And he handed them a check for all of the money back, every bit of it, close to $40,000. And he said, we're going to come in and we're going to redo all of this and we're going to get it absolutely perfect. My gift to you. And I'm just so, so sorry that we didn't have it done in time. And he said, I'm not even going to tell you how it happened, but I wasn't in town. And they started crying. They absolutely started crying. Now, why did that boost his company exponentially?
Well, it's a powerful story that I believe you said you did not leverage in an ad.
No, never told anybody.
But what it does is it tells everyone internally inside of the business,
Bingo.
this is who we are.
Bingo. And so everybody in the company, it was a big company, and everybody in the company heard what Ken had done, and they went, wow, it wasn't our fault. He didn't even try to explain what happened. He didn't try to reason with them. He just said, we let you down, and that's not who we are. And I'm so, so sorry. Please forgive us. And he gave them back all their money, and he said, we're going to come in here. We're going to get this so perfect as a gift to you. And it's not enough, I know, but I'm doing everything I can to try to make this up to you. And they said, well, that's the kind of guy we thought you were. And that's, and they understood that he was out of town and that all these things couldn't be helped. But first he gave him back their money before he even tried to explain it. And so everybody in the company heard that. Everybody in the company heard what had happened. And they go, God, this is a company to work for. This is the place to be. This is the place where the boss doesn't come in and scream at you. He realizes it was just as weird. He told me, he said it was just the most extraordinary, perfect storm of all of these things happened. He says, none of which we could have controlled. And you get the first one solved and this other thing. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's like all of a sudden, boom, we're out of time. And so, culture. Culture is what your employees know about the company, what they actually know to be a fact about the company. Okay, Dewey Jenkins did something very, very, very similar. Do you know how Dewey Jenkins built his company? They had like 3,000 people that were, members of the monthly maintenance thing. It's called Priority Advantage in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was Dewey's thing at Morris Jenkins. And he told me the day we met, he said, we're going to measure the growth of the Priority Advantage program. And I said, why? And he said, because when we have 42,879 members, he's a CPA. And he said, for real. And he said, we'll break $100,000 that year. We'll do $100,000 because I've calculated the benefit of somebody being bonded to your company by paying you $20 a month for a special relationship. And he goes, do you know why nobody sells as many memberships as they should? And I said, why? He goes, because it's a lie. He said, they're supposed to get the next available truck, but man, during the season, and somebody calls and it's broken down and it's an old system, guess what happens?
Yeah, that's right.
They get the next available truck. And he said, my technicians will never be able to sell this. They will never be able to sell it until they see me pay the price to live up to what we promise. And he said, we are going to live up to what we promise. We're not going to mislead people. And he says, they're not going to believe me when I tell them we're going to start never rescheduling. We're not going to reschedule. If we committed to somebody that we're going to come out and do their maintenance, and all of a sudden we're getting all these demand calls from all these old systems, and we don't have the trucks to send out there, and the competitor's going to get it because we couldn't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yep, not going to reschedule it. And he says, and I believe the technicians will see that, and they will go, oh, this is real. Now we're back to the waterless cookware. Now we're back to what we talked about in the last broadcast, is when you demonstrate to yourself and you demonstrate to your people who we really are. And he said those people began selling just astounding numbers of Priority Advantage programs. It's the technicians. You don't advertise it, and then the people call up and go, I heard this on TV. I heard this on the radio. I want to buy that thing you're talking about. This doesn't happen. But when the technician's in the home and says, hey, look, this is the invoice for today. Now, listen, if you're a Priority Advantage member, then it would be reduced by this amount. And he goes, that's more than it costs to pay for a whole year. I can go ahead and make you a member now, today, and your savings will pay for it for more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, can you do that? Even though I wasn't a member when you got here, I said, yeah, I'm allowed to do that. They said, yeah, just sign us up. And so everybody signed up because I'm telling you what, I'm a member. Everybody's a member. All my friends are members. This is really, really, really a good deal. They couldn't say that before. You know why? Because they knew you don't get what we're promising. You get, we've got you in the bag. We don't have to worry about you going somewhere else. And I'm going, everybody does this, Todd. Here's my point. Everybody does this.
They do.
And the reason Dewey realized, I don't like the results we're getting. What's the real problem here? And he goes, my people don't believe it.
Right.
Now, Ken Goodrich changed what his people believed about the company. That wasn't his goal, but that was the outcome by accident. Dewey goes, nope. His goal was, I need my people to really value this membership and know that it's really, really, really worth having. I'm going to have to prove it. And so he made himself financially vulnerable. Ken made himself financially vulnerable and paid the price for it. Dewey paid the price for it and missed sales he could have made for replacement systems to prove to his people this program is worth having. Now, that was a bad decision in the short term. It built the company to $115 million before I left. And the last time I talked to Dewey, it's like at 145 in Charlotte. And that was just like 3 years after I left. They've jumped from 115 to 145, but the team that I was working with is all still there.
So I got a couple things that's going through my mind here, and I'd like to try to unpack several of them. One, culture is what your employees know about your company. You have shifted the way I'm thinking about these events. The event with Dewey, the event with Ken. I very much remember a similar event with Mr. Abrams where he brought a lady in, gave her all her money back, and had her have a chance to present her side of the story to the crew in Las Vegas. And what I'm realizing here is that these moments actually are extraordinarily powerful relational marketing. They're just internal.
Yes.
They're internal relational marketing.
Exactly. Because the relationship we have with each other, to build that bond, to build that trust, to build that confidence requires evidence.
Yes. And what's going through my mind here is that we have a line item, and I'm thinking differently about the line item. Now, everyone's got a line item. It says something like, warranties, 1%. Wouldn't it be so much cooler if we thought of that line item not as a warranty? Because people see that as a waste. And we saw that line item and said, that's internal marketing. Every time we get a chance to do something the right way, it's a form of advertising, form of marketing, form of relationship building. So I think I know the answer because you've made it clear. But I'm going to tell you what I was thinking, which is sometimes people tell these stories, but sometimes they don't. And most of the time, I think the reason why people don't tell those stories is because there's a very serious risk when you recreate this in an ad that it feels staged.
Right.
It feels fake.
Right.
So
see, none of those stories did we ever advertise.
Right.
Whenever you're doing something to change the confidence and the culture and the sense of belief, and whenever people really love the company they work for and they're proud of it, it's hard to recruit them away. And so it's an amazing investment to let your people see you do things that you don't advertise, but they watch you pay the price to live up to what you promised. Now, that is a powerful thing to do. I forgot your question. Say the question again.
Oh, you're on top of it. You're in line. The question in essence is this: has anyone ever been able to do it well? Take one of these real life experiences and actually turn it into external relational marketing without it feeling fake.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing because it really happened. See, here's what most people don't realize. Really, really, really good ad writers have to have a needle into your veins. They have to be able to get real, true stories out of you. Because for them to say, well, that's what you do. Just go be clever and come up with something clever that makes people buy from me. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way at all.
Not at all.
And so I would always, at least every week or 10 days, Ken and I would spend like an hour together on the phone. And Dewey and I spend an hour together every week. It was Friday morning at 9 o'clock every week. And when you hear stories about what happened this week. And one day Ken said, you know what? He said, I had the weirdest thing happen last week. He said, I was in this little cafe I eat at all the time. And he said, I kept hearing this noise outside. And it bothered me so much, I got up and went outside, and it was their air conditioner, at this little cafe he eats at. And he said, it was annoying me so bad, I just got the tools and went back there and fixed it. They didn't even know. They didn't even know. And he just said, I had to. It was just driving me crazy. I went back there and fixed it. And then he says, when I went back in, my food was cold, and they says, hey, where did you go? You obviously hadn't finished. And he goes, well, the air conditioner was driving me crazy. And it's like, and so I just went out and fixed it. And they said, really? And I said, we noticed it got a lot cooler in here.
Yeah.
And so he goes, all right. So anyway, they gave him a different meal. And I just thought that's the funniest thing in the world. And so I wrote the ad. And so it was a real true story. And it let you know, no, he really is really sincerely all about trying to do really good work for people. And it drives him nuts. Do it the right way, not the easy way. And he just they didn't pay him for that. He wasn't even supposed to be doing it. But he says, I can't let this happen. This is my cafe, and this is something I can fix. And so, yeah, that was a time when I said, okay, that's the kind of story you can tell. And people go, wow, he's a heck of a guy. The guy owns this big company. Air conditioner at this cafe eats that all the time is screwed up, so he quits eating and goes out and fixes it and doesn't even tell anybody. That's awesome.
I love that.
Does that make sense to you?
Does it not? Does it make sense to me? Roy, 2 weeks ago, I was at the gym and I broke a piece of equipment and I got my tools out and I fixed it. The guy's like, no, you can't do that. You can't. We got people to do that. And I'm like, you got to call them.
They didn't break it.
No. I must fix it. It's not a hard repair. And I did. I fixed it. Thank you for sharing that. All right. I want to show you an ad now. It's Google's Parisian Love. One of the things that I liked about this ad is it's an ad with 0 words. It aired in the Super Bowl. I want to think, geez Louise, shame on me for forgetting, maybe like 2016 or so.
Okay.
And it generated lots and lots of results. So if you're listening, I'll describe it at the end, but if you're watching, then you just read the screen.
Hello. Bonjour.
Très, très mignon. Allô?
Le commandant et toute son équipe espèrent que vous avez passé un agréable.
Wow.
Have you seen that?
Never saw it.
So the entire ad is someone that we don't see, but what we do see is a cursor on the screen in the Google bar, and he goes through a series of restaurants in Paris, flights to Paris, how to talk to a girl in Paris, how to, say this or this, and the very last one is he's typing in how to, and and then the words are popping below how to tie a tie, how to do this. You don't know exactly what it says,
It's
and then
happening very quickly, too.
happened very quickly. It says how to assemble a crib,
He types in how to assemble a crib, yeah.
and then you hear a little baby laugh.
Right. And so this is an incredibly good example, okay, of we, the viewers, since there's no dialogue, there's no words, and the pace of how quickly they're typing and what's popping up on the screen, it's appearing on the screen at about the limits of our ability to read quickly. And so the average person can just barely read that before it goes away and he starts typing something else. So it's taking our full attention.
Mm.
Our mind cannot wander, okay? And so there's never a moment when you can look away because there's a mystery. There's a mystery and you want to solve the mystery. It's what I call the hovering question mark. There's this question mark. You're not sure what's happening, but you know something's happening, okay? And so you pay strict attention because you can smell a payoff coming. And this is a moment you have lived. You can relate to this moment. You're typing something in, and it wants to finish. It'll down below the search bar, all these different, is one of these questions the one you're getting ready to ask? And sometimes, yeah, it was. It's like the third one down is the question he was asking. So boom, it just pops up. And so as you're doing this, going, no, I've done this. I've done this hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of times. I've had this moment. You type in these things, these possible answers pop up, and you finish the deal, and then boom, boom, boom. Same thing happens with TiVo. If you have a TiVo system on your DVR, it's like, yeah, it anticipates maybe what you're looking for. And I'm going, yeah, we've all done that. We've done this. I've lived this moment. And you're trying to figure out, what do all these questions have in common? And then you realize, oh, I see what he's doing. But why? Why? Somebody's on their way to Paris. Okay, it's jobs in Paris, blah, 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 blah. And then you finally realize, oh, they're going to have a baby together. And they've been doing long distance relationship. And now he's thinking he might move to Paris. Okay. And you're just going, wow. And not a word of that was ever said. You have to fill in what they left out.
Yeah.
You have to fill in what they left out. You have to fill in what they left out.
Love it.
And that's called engagement. Reader engagement, viewer engagement, listener engagement. Whenever you are required to participate in the ad, to understand what's happening, you have to bring to the ad what they left out.
Yeah.
And that is called participation, and it's the mark of extraordinary ad writers.
One of the things that I'm thinking about in that ad and the things that you said, and I think I've just come to realize something else, is that this whole episode's been about vulnerability. And I think I've come to realize, maybe you can tell me what I'm thinking here is on a path. It seems like there are two paths to this. One path of vulnerability is first person.
Mhm.
I am telling you what's occurred.
Mhm.
I'm in the group. I'm saying it aloud. And we hear it. What we just saw in that ad is you get to look over my shoulder. You are realizing my life, and it's even more intimate because in this sort of imaginary world, I don't even know you're there.
Mhm.
And I think it's hitting on me. That's one of the reasons why I almost get emotional at the end of that ad, because we're peering into the world. We're watching the world, and it gives this impression of it must be true, because they're not even telling us; they're just letting us see the life.
Dave Nevland and Jacob Harrison have both been with me Dave Nevland's been the audio producer for radio ads and for the Monday Morning Memo for, I think, 24 years. And Jacob Harrison's been there now for about 15 years. And a few years ago, I wanted to do what's called a Crazy Ivan, where you put an ad into a campaign that is not part of the campaign.
Mm.
And we called these the Two Dudes ads, because what happens is, I've done it for several different clients over the years. If you just want to stir things up a little bit, because it's two people they've never heard on the radio before, and they're talking to each other. These are just two guys literally walking down a sidewalk, talking the way that friends talk.
Cool.
And the one thing is, here's what's really shocking. Doesn't sound like an ad. It literally sounds like you're just eavesdropping on two random guys walking down the sidewalk that are buddies. Okay. And then you're not sure what they're talking about. And it's like this, but where this was all screen text, with somebody typing into the Google search bar. These guys are talking about, and we'll play one. I've got it on my computer, and you'll get an idea of what it is. But it's exactly what you were describing, Todd. It's exactly what you were describing. Is you don't know what this is, but it doesn't sound like any ad you've ever heard, and you've never heard these two voices before, and you're not sure what they're talking about or why exactly. But then you're going, wow, that was clever, because you are eavesdropping.
Yes.
When you're looking over somebody's shoulder as they're doing this and they don't know you're there, you're a voyeur. You're watching and they don't know you're watching, or you feel like they don't know you're watching. And whenever you're listening to strangers, so like in a restaurant where they're hearing what they're saying at the next table, okay? I'll never forget this. This is about maybe 6, 7 months ago. You've occasionally met with us on a Friday lunch. A bunch of old men and I sit down and we have lunch together.
Some of my favorite times.
They always look forward to seeing you. You bring so much to the table. And we were there, and there were 6 of us at this round table at the League Kitchen. And I didn't even notice. There's like 4 women at this table over there. And they walked up and they're standing next to our table, and we were all kind of alarmed. What the hell's going on, because we looked and these ladies are standing there. And we had been having we were talking about personal things. That's what you do on Friday afternoon. You talk about things that you can only talk to your close friends about. And they said, we just wanted you to know that someday we wish we have friends like you guys have each other.
Oh.
They said, we have been listening to you guys for a while, and we were going, wouldn't it be wonderful to have friends like that? And says, women have friends like that all the time, but guys never do. And we just wanted you to know we thought that was remarkable, and thank you very much. I was embarrassed, and frankly, I was a little bit offended they were listening, But the point is, whenever you're listening to other people, strangers, you're listening to strangers talk, and you can figure out what's going on, even if you don't know them, and you can read between the lines, and you can kind of figure out what's happening here, and it's really fascinating. And so we sometimes will create an ad like that for a client just as a little bit of surprise and delight for the radio audience. And we do it. It's the same thing in that ad that you just showed us from the Google ad where they were talking about this these couples getting together in Paris. And the truth is, you can also do it on the radio.
I love it. Roy, that's great. What's your final thought for today?
Take chances. It's like if you think ads should be poised, polished, and professional, then your ads sound like ads, they feel like ads, they smell like ads, and they're not going to work very well. And if you take chances, like Procter & Gamble did with the Old Spice man, and like the people did with the ads that we saw that I'd never seen before, and like we do with these 2 dudes ads, when you do things that are offbeat and crazy and surprising and unexpected, and it's a rogue, misfit, kind of a maverick, crazy ad, yeah, it takes courage, but they work exponentially better because you break through the clutter and you get attention and you win trust. And so have courage, have courage, have courage. That's my thought for the day.
You've been listening to 2 Lattes, Todd Liles, and the Wizard of Ads, where the bold win and the remarkable reign. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a conversation. If you want a copy of the show notes or watch the ads from today's show, head over to toddliles.com/wizard. This episode is dedicated to the business owners who refuse to be ordinary.